Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.
Hello. Welcome back to Shoot Your Shot. I'm Georgia.
I'm Claire, and here we have Betsy Newman, our guest today, which is super exciting. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to give a little intro.
Yes.
Betsy Newman is an amazing photographer who first had her start in the music industry, actually touring with Maroon 5, which is so cool. I'm sure a lot of our audience will be like, that must be so incredible being to be there every day on tour.
And it's like a super random, fun fact.
Yeah.
It is a crazy way to start.
Yeah, definitely. And has evolved into being this incredible wedding photographer whose photos are just absolutely magical and just so inspiring. And we're so lucky to have her with us today. I know she has a lot of experience in the photography world, including in business and all of those things. So we're super excited to ask you a lot of questions about the wedding industry and photography with music as well. And yeah, to get deep into it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So excited.
Yeah, yay.
Ooh, okay, well let's just dive right into it.
Should we do the first segment?
Yeah.
The two truths and a lie?
Yeah, I think we should start it there.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, two truths and a lie. You're gonna tell us two projects that you've actually worked on, and then make one up.
Okay. And it won't be necessarily wedding related.
That's
No.
fine.
Yeah, do anything you want.
Okay. So, two truths and a lie. Let's go. So, here we go. Okay, I once received an obscure email to do Christmas family photos for a celebrity, and it ended up being Elon Musk and his children. Okay.
We don't want to give any tells.
We're giving away, yeah, we're just going through. Okay, another one. So when I was photographing Trevor Noah's tour in Seattle, I got to meet Bill Gates. He was in the green room hanging out with us.
I feel like that one's true.
These are really
specific.
Seem really real.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
I know.
all specific. So
keep going.
That's good. I know. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was shooting the One Direction tour, my first show, Harry Styles called out my name from the stage and threw his water bottle at me, and all the girls around me were freaking out.
I am obsessed with Harry Styles. He's my hall pass in my relationship.
Yeah. No.
I love him.
Yeah.
Do you still have the water bottle?
No. Well, this could be a lie, so we don't know.
Oh, that's right. It's okay.
I think it's the third. I think it's the Harry Styles one that's a lie.
No, I don't think so. I don't
You
think
just want it to be
I
true.
know. I just want it to be real, so I can say, "Do you still have the water bottle?" I'm just kidding.
know.
Which one do you think is a lie?
I want to say Elon Musk, but I also feel like that could be it.
I know. I'm also
Because I feel like he's so random. Why else would you pick him?
And his kids, she knows he has multiple kids.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going with Harry Styles, actually.
Okay. This is fun. I'm glad that we're doing this.
Which one is it?
But yeah.
Oh, so you didn't guess. What's yours?
Yeah, Harry Styles.
Oh, Harry Styles.
I think Harry Styles is a lie.
Harry Styles is fully true.
Oh my God.
Is it Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Oh my God!
I should have went with my gut.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
that
were
okay.
right.
That
That's
makes
why I said the
sense.
lie first, because you guys would not
I was gonna say
expect
that was a psychology test you did
Yeah.
on
I
that.
thought about it.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, that
I
was
like
good.
you.
That was really good. Also, an obscure email. That's exactly how it works with
Yeah.
celebrities. You
We
get
got weird
an
emails
agent
like
that's
that.
oh, I have a family in the public eye who needs
Yeah.
photos. So you made it sound very real.
Yeah, that was
you.
good.
Thank you.
Wow.
That was good.
Yeah, you're good. Okay. Well, with that then being said, let's jump into you telling us more about who you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, just go from there.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Betsy Newman, and I'm a photographer in LA. I've been doing photography for over 10 years. I fell into photography being a theater major at USC.
Ooh.
So I just had a camera, and I loved taking pictures of my friends. And that's honestly how it started. I just would honestly put up fake Facebook albums of all the photos that I would take.
Cute.
And
I
it was
love
just a
that.
hobby. I never once was like, this is going to be a career, ever. It was not a goal. I was convinced I was going to be an actress, and I moved here even when I was 16 by myself to pursue that. So that was the route I was going down, and I was studying theater.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Arizona.
Okay.
So, yeah, my first big job right when I graduated was Maroon 5's tour, and that changed my life, and I would say that kind of catapulted the photography career and taking myself seriously as a photographer, because for so long I was just doing it for fun. And then after that I got addicted, and then that led to 5 more tours, and now, as you mentioned, I'm shooting a lot of weddings. So it's been this evolution of kind of starting in music and now shooting couples. And I just love it. It's been a decade of doing this, and I'm obsessed. I can't even. Yeah.
I love the passion in her eyes when she talks about
I
this.
love talking about photography. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
That's
and
the best.
to listen to. I'm so glad you're doing this because I love listening to photography podcasts too. Like I'm always wanting to meet photographers and connect because it's kind of a lonely island.
Yes.
Yeah, especially being a girl in the industry.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. You're like, what are you doing? Like, what do you? You know, it's so many questions. So it's cool to see how other people work.
So let me ask you this: how on earth did you go from shooting your friends at USC to being on tour with Maroon 5?
To then shooting couples. Those are so like three
know.
very
And then shooting
different things.
5 tours. That's, how did that happen?
It is a crazy story. And so in college, I photographed Austin city limits for fun. I didn't get paid. My friend asked me if I wanted to just bring my camera and shoot photos for fun. He was doing social media for a company there. So he was like, if you could take photos, we'll pay your way. Just have fun. No pressure. This was not a job. I didn't even need a job. I was just there purely as a fan, like a festival goer.
Was this post-college?
This was in college.
Okay.
And then when I graduated, I got an email from that same guy who hired me, and he was like, hey, check your email. Why aren't you responding to so-and-so? And I was like, what are you talking about? And it ended up being an email to photograph the Maroon 5 tour, and it was in my junk email. And I was so confused, like, what a tour even was. They called it a documentarian. They were like, it's a tour documentarian.
I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that.
Me neither. I was like, I don't know what this is. I need to be in LA. I'm pursuing acting. Like, I have no idea what this opportunity is. But I ended up going in to the office for an interview, and it ended up being way more intense than I realized. Everyone was like in a suit in this like conference room, and I was this like 22-year-old just like with a camera. And the more I realized how crazy the opportunity was, I fought for it. Like by the end of that interview, I proved to them I was the person for the job.
Yes,
Even
we
though
love
I've
that.
never done it in my life, but
How many people were you like?
Against.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people they were interviewing, but I honestly think what helped me get the job is I told them I wasn't a fan, which was true. Like,
really?
They did not want a fan on the tour, and they made that very
makes
clear.
sense.
They were like, you're representing the brand, like you need to hold up just a certain image. And it was a male-dominated tour. Like there were only probably 5 females on a 100 person tour.
Wow.
So
what year was this again?
This was in 2013.
2013. Okay.
So yeah, I guess the short story is I got that job from an opportunity I did totally for fun in college that led to that. So I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, totally.
It just shows though you never know what an opportunity could lead to.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then shooting weddings, I would say it's just from my community now getting older. Like I just got married, all my friends are getting married, their friends tell their friends.
Right.
Yeah, and I just do have a passion for people, so it works. Like I love capturing weddings, and I love. So,
I love that.
Literally, you are so happy talking about this.
know,
It makes
it's so
me, like,
beautiful.
I know, I love it.
You said you shot 5 other tours.
Yeah.
Were these all Maroon 5 or different artists?
They were different artists, so it's through the Honda Civic tour. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was Maroon 5, and then One Direction, and American Authors, and Charlie Puth.
I was just gonna say Charlie Puth was on the Honda Civic tour, but I didn't want to say it. I love
You
him.
know the Honda Civic tour.
Of
I'm
course.
impressed. Oh
Well,
my
I
gosh.
used to work in the music industry, like producing
Okay.
festivals.
Oh,
So like I was
wow.
like very in that.
Okay, so you know who is
Yeah.
the lineup.
But I
Okay.
love the Honda Civic tours. They're so fun.
They're really
gosh.
cool. Yeah, it definitely. I'm so grateful that I got to do that. It was a cool experience.
That's
so.
awesome and so cool doing
Yeah.
it right out of college too. Like what a fun experience.
It was surreal. Yeah, I was like, how did I get here? But I feel like this is exactly where I need to be. You know,
Oh, good,
that's
good.
Like I am supposed to be exactly right here.
Yeah.
It felt right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how many years were you doing photography and touring?
So I did it from 2013 to I think like 2017 or something like that.
wow.
I should keep a diary. I always joke. I don't really know even what day it is.
I feel
But
that.
It was
I
multiple
know.
years in a row.
And was
then,
it-
Yeah, I haven't done it in a few years. So now weddings are the focus. But
So was it, because I'm just curious, because I
Yeah.
like used to work in the music industry and like touring was huge and like it's nonstop. So would you go like from one tour to the next? Like how much of a break would you have in between?
Yeah, so the first tour I did was the longest. It was 3 months, and it was 34 shows, and we lived on a bus with 11 people. So it was pretty jam-packed, and we had a show sometimes one night in between, but there were often shows back to back. And you had to like edit all night while everyone else is sleeping. That's when the photographer has to do their work. So, and it was scary because, like I said, it was my first big job. Like I really wanted to prove myself. So I would over deliver. They would be like, we need like 8 to 10 great photos. I'd send like 50 to 60. I was like, keep me here.
And you're like, use them all.
Yeah.
That's wild. So shooting events can be very unpredictable. Obviously, I think we've all shot events. There's always crazy shit shows happening in the background. What has been one of the craziest things that's happened to you, whether on tour, through another event, wedding, and then how have you dealt with that like crazy occurrence?
Oh, okay. A crazy thing that happened. I mean, I have a funny story of what happened, which is like, sometimes I think I know people from work or like from my life, and I don't know them. They're famous, right? So I guess I gave away what happened, but I was shooting this event for YouTube, and it was for Quincy Jones. And I went up to this man because he looked so familiar. I was like, oh my gosh, I know you.
Oh no!
I was like, no, like you're my friend's dad. He was like, no,
my
Betsy.
God.
I was like, no, like I've been to your house, like I've had a sleepover there, like you're my friend's dad for sure, like who's your kid? And I wouldn't give it up. I don't know why I did this. Like I was just feeling so convinced.
That is
Anyways,
so
That is hilarious.
funny.
What did he say?
it ended up being Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, which I just realized I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and I just really thought he was my friend's dad. And so
That
I
is
guess
so
the point
funny.
is, yeah, a lot of people look familiar, but it might not be.
What was his reaction? Like, was he looking at you
thought
weird?
I was like flirting with him because then he was like, if you want to come on my yacht later.
Oh my god! Then you got invited to a
I
yacht.
really thought you were my friend's dad.
Did you go on his yacht?
No.
Oh, I would have went.
I know, but not, I did not.
That is so funny.
so funny. That's a
Yeah.
great story.
That is.
But yeah, crazy situations like photography wise, yeah, I think sometimes you show up and you think it's going to be one thing and it's something completely different. You know, I have so many stories. I once showed up to this event at Sundance. It was just an event that I was referred to. I had to sign all these NDAs. I had no idea what it was for, and it ended up being to promote like Lindsay Lohan's like film, and she was there being interviewed, and I ended up being in her documentary, which I had no idea I was
way.
even being filmed. But multiple people were like, "Yeah, you're in Lindsay Lohan's like documentary."
Oh my God.
So cool.
I love
So
that.
read the paperwork that you're signing because I just
Yeah.
like signed my life
Oh
away.
my
and
God.
I had
To
no
just
idea
do
what
it for them to
was.
do whatever they wanted with your footage in her
Yeah.
documentary.
I still haven't seen it, so if you see it, let me know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is so funny. So I think one thing that's interesting with shooting events, whether it's talent like Maroon 5 or an artist or even a couple on their wedding day, how do you manage the talent and how do you work with people who A, might be awkward on camera
Yeah.
or B, who just like are kind of running around like crazy? Like how do you manage them? Because I know with artists sometimes, especially the bigger the artist, the less of a attention span they have apparently.
Yes.
And it is incredibly hard to like get them to just focus and like just be centered
Yeah.
and like, hey, you need to like pose for me for the next like 30 minutes. Or with a
Yeah.
couple, they might be like on their wedding, kind of distracted, running around. How do you manage
it is
them?
Really
How do you
hard.
focus
That's a great
them?
question. I feel like so often it looks effortless, but people, it's not a photo shoot at the end of the day. Like you're there for that purpose, but for the wedding, they're having their wedding day. They're not thinking about that. So, I mean, a big style of mine has become candid photos. I'm always just looking for moments instead of like getting them to take time away from their day. Yeah, so just looking, I always say to couples, stay together. That's my number one advice because that's how you'll get great photos. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of times they're
Okay.
nowhere to be found in the same vicinity, and then you don't get any dancing photos of them together. Yeah,
Right.
so just looking for candid moments, even with celebrities too, like just kind of being a fly on the wall. But yeah, getting people to focus, I feel like you just have to like convince them you're there for their best interest. They'll see how hard you're working and they're like, all right, like I'll do this for poor Betsy over here. And yeah, being efficient and being really enthusiastic. I think that's something I do that people really appreciate. They're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. Like you're cheering me on.
Well,
So-
even like
yeah.
right here, like your energy is like addictive. I'm like, wow, I got no sleep last night, but
I
I'm
know,
feeling
I'm
way
getting
more
energy
awake.
from you.
Yeah, I think energy is a big way to get people to give you energy.
Yes.
So if you're like really passionate about what you're seeing and what they're doing, they're gonna get into it. Because it's true. Like, I once had a groom that was counting me down. He would literally be like, you have 10 seconds for photos. 10.
Oh my gosh, what a dick.
Yeah, that's
He
horrible.
actually was a really nice guy, and I think he was just really nervous and like kind of in an insecure kind of like way. And later at the end of the night, he like gave me a big hug, and he was like, "I'm really sorry. I was so
Aw.
okay,
Okay,
well, at least
okay.
he apologized. But yeah, that's kind
But I think he did give me more than 10 seconds. And
Okay.
I think it was because I was so enthusiastic and just so present for him that it's like you have to be like a jerk if you're not responding to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
enthusiasm, intense enthusiasm is my secret.
No, I love that. I would have never even thought of that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I love that. So now that you're married,
Which, congratulations.
yes,
You just got
congratulations.
married.
I know.
Thank you.
How has being a wedding photographer affected the way that you plan your own wedding? How has it affected like your shoots? Like, tell us more about that.
Were there any things that you experienced being a wedding photographer that you were like, I never want that at my
Yeah,
wedding?
like, were there certain things at other weddings you saw where you were like, I did this at my wedding because I saw it at this wedding all the time?
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, like I said before, stay together. That was something we said from the beginning. Like, Michael and I stayed together the whole day. We really enjoyed our day. I feel like a lot of couples think they need to say hi to every single guest they have and they need to divide and conquer. And it's like work. Like, they're not even having fun. They're not even on the dance floor. So we stayed together the entire time, and we really had fun. Like, we danced from the first song to the last, and we did not leave the dance floor.
Love that.
That's how it should
just
be.
enjoying it. I think a lot of times people do, sometimes, the opposite of what I said earlier, they do think it is a photo shoot the whole day. And you appreciate that because you're like, oh, you really want to support what I'm here to do. But you're like, no, like, also live your life. Like, be together. Like, this is your day.
Live in the present moment.
Live in the
yeah.
moment. And that's how you get the best pictures. So, yeah. And also something we did that I just know how fast the day flies by. Like, it flies by. Literally, my mom later was like, why didn't you tell me how fast it goes by? You never warned me. Because people don't realize they're just, you know, taking the day slowly, you know, fixing their hair in the bathroom. They're not thinking, like, every moment of your wedding day is just precious. I don't know how else to explain it. It just flies by. So we made a whole weekend of it, which was very fortunate that we were able to do that. But like, and we went to Deer Valley, Utah as a destination. So I wanted to like kidnap everybody. I was like, you have to come for the whole weekend. I don't want you to just go home or leave early. Like, you're here for the wedding. And so that was, yeah, I guess just making the most out of every moment and just being so aware that it ends in like, you know, a few hours and just being present. So
do you shoot a lot of destination weddings, or are you more like local to where you live?
I feel like I go in waves. I've had years where it's mostly destination, then I have years where it's like all in California. And this past year I had a lot in California. So a lot in Palm Springs, I think, because I love color. So
I love color.
Yeah.
What has been like your craziest wedding venue or wedding location you've shot?
Yeah, so my first destination wedding was in Mykonos, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, sick.
Yeah. It was
That was your first
amazing.
ever like wedding destination?
Yeah, and
That's
that was
cool.
in 2017, so not even that long ago. And they really encouraged me to bring a guest, which was so fun. And it was a whole week of activities, which I learned. I took notes from them. They made it a whole week, so by the end, everyone knew each other. It was like a family, and yeah, it was just an amazing time.
I
I'll
love
never forget
that. All right, let's break for our next segment.
It's our favorite.
Which is our favorite, which
Oh
is
my gosh.
also the name of our podcast.
It
the
is Shoot Your Shot.
segment. We want to know who your creator crush is, and by creator crush we mean like who are you like? Ooh, that's
You're
that's
like,
my guy, you know,
I know
or
you're
like
married.
I'm into them and they have really
That's
good
so
work,
funny.
and I'm
Well,
into them.
I'll give you a hint. Their name came up already.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, if it's your like husband, like you can say him by default, but like let's pick somebody else.
No. I would say, and it's a joke with Michael, my husband, is Harry Styles. Like,
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I know you kept that water bottle.
yes, I did. No, I did not keep the water bottle. To be honest, when I did that, I never heard of One Direction. Really, I'm like so bad. I like indie obscure music, so like when I shoot
me
these pop
too.
shows, I'm not a fan. I really don't know the songs or anything, or I don't even know their names. I knew who Harry was, but that's it. And so that night, I remember going to the first show of that tour, being like, yeah, I'm just shooting these young guys. Like, who knows? I had no expectations, and Harry Styles is literally the nicest person. I mean, I don't know if he would remember me. This was years ago. I'm just like, he was just so personable. He'll ask you your name and he remembers it. And he'll go out of his way to say hi to you every time you're in the vicinity. Like, just very kind. And then it's just been cool to watch his career, like how he's become an amazing actor, and he's a solo artist. I'm not like a super fan, but it's a joke. Michael and I agree. We'll be like, Betsy has a crush on Harry just because he was so nice. I love nice people. Like, you're a kind human, and I appreciate you.
I love it. Is there anyone in like the photography or creative industry that you really like as well?
Or just feel inspired by?
I am inspired by so many people that I follow on Instagram, but a lot of it's like saving posts here and there. It's not like some certain person that I'm consistently like in awe of. It's just like, you know how it is. We're just seeing things all the time that we're seeing as inspiration. So
totally.
Yeah. I don't have a great answer for that, unfortunately. But
do you have any wedding photo tips, like ways to pose couples and like how to get creative shots during a wedding, or even like a engagement session or an elopement, like whatever? Do you have tips for how to? Because I think that's one of the hardest things with couples. And just working with people in general is posing them and directing them, and it can get awkward and like.
No, totally. I mean, the number one thing is movement. I always love movement. I think as soon as things get really still, then it's stale, and like also people get uncomfortable and they're nervous. Yeah. So a lot of movement, like when in doubt, walking. Like you can't go wrong. Like holding hands, walking towards the camera. Holding hands, walking away with the girl looking back and the guy looking at the girl, like prompts. I like to direct couples with prompts, like pick her up, scoop her up, or just things that they can do, and then they interact naturally, right? So that's always what my go-to is. Also, something that I've learned also from my own wedding, like you have to really think, why did this person hire you? Why'd they pick this venue? Why'd they pick that dress? Like there's certain things that they really like about maybe that venue or their dress. Like maybe they really love the train. Maybe they really love the back. Or I guess just taking a step back sometimes and looking, what is it that I want to highlight? You know what I mean? Because I have been getting a lot of brides that have these incredible trains. And like the old Betsy 8 years ago, who had never been married and like shot many weddings, would probably just start shooting them from the front and, you know, just kind of starting without thinking about it. But now, you know, I lay the dress perfectly. I set up the shot. I get that angle that's really going to feature what they're proud of.
Like the smaller details.
The smaller details. Yeah, exactly.
Do you take a lot of time to set up a shot? Because I know sometimes we really want to compose it really beautifully. Do you like take the time, like the 3, 5, 10 minutes to set it up perfectly, or are you more like run and gun?
I'm a little more run and gun. I look for the good light and then I put them there, and then I usually start with prompts that get them engaged and get them interacting with each other. But something I have learned over the last few years as weddings and my clients to become more elaborate is looking out for, like the train. Like some dresses you can't move much in, right? Like they have to be placed perfectly. And maybe you have a lot of wind or you have an element that, so it really just depends. But I feel like I am, as I go further in my career, taking more time than I used to.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Do you have any tips for like the run and gun method? Like how do you stay ahead to make sure you don't miss the next shot? Or how do you like just in that situation, like do you have any tricks for people who also do that?
I mean, for portraits, you have more control, right, when it's time for the formal photo. So I feel like to answer that question, be more like thinking about the ceremony or something that you don't know what they're going to do, or the first dance. Like you really just have no idea what it's going to look like. Oftentimes the planner doesn't tell you what direction they're coming from, you know, for the processional, or you have to figure it out in the moment. So I would say like being on a lens, that is a really good choice. You should see me before a ceremony. I'm just looking at the space. I'm thinking, I'm trying to assess exactly what it's going to look like. And I have my lenses ready to go. I always have a side bag and I have a lineup of exactly how I think it's going to go. And a lot of times it doesn't go according to plan. So you have to just be able to adapt. And like sometimes just a 50 is like a good go-to, because you're like, well, I will get the wide, I will get the close-ups. My feet are my my feet are my tripod, I guess. So yeah, just kind of having a plan, but also being willing to adapt.
This is a perfect segue, because we actually wanted to ask what is in your camera bag, and also what are your go-to lenses, camera bodies? Do you have multiple bodies with you during, even like shooting a concert or a festival?
Like, do you have 2 cameras?
So I don't do 2 cameras. I've done it before and I get tangled. I'm like, I find that you're not putting as much precision into your settings. You're switching too much. It's like, it's just overkill in my opinion. I found that a side bag is so much more efficient for me.
And you just have it on you the whole time?
I have it on me the whole time, and then I have the one camera. And the way I'd approach a concert is very different than a wedding, but for a wedding, I'm mostly prime. So like
Okay.
I'll have a 50, an 85, and a 35 in my bag. And then for the ceremony, if it's a really wide, if it's a massive space, I'll have the 70-200 for the ceremony.
So how does that work, switching out a lens mid-shot? Because I mean,
Yeah.
that could be
I
really
know.
difficult to switch a lens.
I know. There's a new lens that I've been trying lately. It's the 28 to 72.0. It's an R lens, and that one you don't have to switch as much.
Are you on an
And
R?
I'm on the R5.
R5,
yeah, and
okay.
I love it.
Nice.
Okay.
Sorry, that would totally cut you
no.
off.
But that was so good too.
Yeah.
It's okay, we'll go back.
But that, do you like the R5?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, this is the camera I want to upgrade to. You don't have an R5.
Yeah.
Give me your top favorite lenses and
Right. Okay, I love talking about lenses. So
Yeah.
I love the 51 too. I think that's just a great go-to. Like you were talking about engagement sessions, like that's a great one because it gives you enough context of the background, but it's focused on your subjects. Great portrait lens. And for the beach, for example, you can't switch lenses a lot, even though I do sometimes, but I try not to with the sand. So the 50 is always a great start. My favorite lens is the 85. I'm obsessed. That's like my signature. It just gives that compression and that depth, and it's so sharp.
so beautiful.
I have the 1.2 and the 1.4. I love them. I need to sell one probably. So yeah, I would say 85 number 1, 50 number 2, and then the 35 I didn't have for years. All my friends were like, "You need it. It's great." I wasn't into it at first, but I actually do love it too. So yeah, like the 35 1, 2.
Do you ever use a zoom lens or like a 70-200?
I do use a 70-200 for concerts and for a ceremony for a wedding, but I don't love being that far away from people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely
And
have
it's
it in
heavy.
my bag, and I have the
So
R
heavy,
and I
so
have the
heavy.
regular EF one too. So
Do you have a second shooter with you usually?
yeah, I used to not have them when I started because people had lower budgets or I was starting my wedding photography career, but now I always have one. It's just so nice to have two different perspectives, and a lot of times you just physically can't be in two different places, like the groom getting ready and the bride getting ready,
Yeah.
for example.
Do you have any
So-
tips for someone looking to get into wedding photography who wants to be a second shooter, and like what you look for in a second shooter? Like,
Yeah.
what are some things that like are a must in a second shooter? You don't want to see this, or you want to see this type of work in their portfolio. What can people work towards to work
Yeah.
with you and work with
That's
other
so
wedding
nice.
photographers?
Well, I think a great way to become a second would be to be a third to start, because honestly, seconds, it's really competitive still because you have to be kind of a wedding photographer in your own right to be a second, because you're going to be in some scenarios of the day where you're leading, like the groom. And if you've never done it in your life, I wouldn't feel confident putting you in that
Oh
situation.
my gosh, you guys, I second shot a wedding a month ago, and I haven't shot a wedding in like 5 years, and I was so nervous, and I was shooting the groom stuff.
I know you would kill it, but there's people that like don't even do
I
it
don't
or
know. I don't know if I killed the groom stuff.
Really?
Yeah, because when I got there, they were already all done, and
Yeah.
there was like no layout for anything, and like it was so bland. There was nothing to take pictures of. Like
Well,
after I got like
there's
the
tricks.
couple
For
details, I
groom-
was like, ah.
Groom getting ready is really hard, and the second shooter usually is what's doing that. And I do see a big difference in what certain people capture. I do see the passive photographer that just shoots what's happening, and that just doesn't work. Honestly, they're usually drinking beers, eating chips.
Yeah.
They're all on different sides of the room.
You have to
They're
force
watching
them to
football.
like do it.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
put his jacket on. Okay,
like,
put it on
exactly.
again.
I
Guys
respect-
get ready like 5 minutes before the
Yeah.
wedding. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they care, but like they don't care. They're like, all
Totally.
right, tell us to put our jacket on.
Yeah.
It's true. So we call it like the final touches. So like have them already ready. Like the trick is you need to prep them even over an email before you arrive. So just say, be ready with your shirts and your pants on and your belts, like all of that. That's when you show up. You're just getting them putting on their jackets. If they already have them on, have them take it off, put it on, you know.
Okay, you're making me feel better because I did this,
Yeah.
but I was so nervous. I was like, there's
No.
nothing to take pictures
No,
of.
it's-
No, they're so
and
hard to
the
take pictures
groom,
of.
It is a lot less, and they don't want you there. Really.
Yeah.
I
They don't
feel like
care.
they don't care. It's
They don't
mainly
care.
like I feel like the photographer is like mainly there for the girl and all the girl stuff because
Yeah.
like the guys are like, as long as she's happy, like just get me and my bro or something.
Yeah.
You'd be
Uh-huh.
shocked. I have had some grooms that are more into it than
Oh,
me.
really? Wait,
yeah,
tell
I'm
us
sure
more
there's
about
a few
that.
groomzillas.
Wait,
For
tell
sure,
us about
right?
a groomzilla experience.
Well, I
I like
would
that
never-
groomzilla.
I will just say that there was a groom who wanted probably 200 to 300 different family combinations, like without the bride even.
Oh
my
With
God.
every person.
Jeez.
That's actually
it was
insane.
Like
Insane,
pages.
yeah.
It went on forever. It like took away time out of the wedding. Like, yeah, it was a little crazy. I had
That's
never experienced anything
insane.
like that, but I was like, you got the right person because I'm gonna get you every photo on this list. But by the end of it, I was just like,
You're like, I'm over this and your family.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Wow.
But, yeah. So that was. So you never know, right? Sometimes it is the guy that's more into it.
So, speaking of bridezillas, have you ever had any crazy bridezillas, any crazy stories
Yes.
of like people that just want things that are so wild or just, tell us.
You know, honestly, it makes a big difference having done this longer. Like, I feel like all my weird stories were in my first year doing it when you're like 20 years old and you're charging very little because you're new. And they also, why are they hiring somebody that's like in college too? So, I've had a couple crazy stories. They're all from the first year. Like, I haven't had any in years, which I'm very grateful for.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I feel like you attract people that vibe with you. So usually it's good people. So thank God. But yeah, like one of the first weddings I shot, I have to think back on it, but it was like the woman's third marriage. They were an older couple, and the stepdaughter was not approving of the marriage, which nobody knew, but she got very drunk. And when it was time to cut the cake, as a nice gesture, the new stepmom was like, let's cut it together. And she took the knife and she chopped the cake into like 100 pieces and started chucking cake at everyone there, including me.
If you're on YouTube, just look at Georgia and I's face right now. We're in shock.
I mean, it was crazy. And at that time I had
That's
another
like a
job
movie.
because I wasn't, I was in college. They're hiring a college person to do this. I had to go work at a restaurant after that. I had cake all over me.
Oh
in
my gosh,
hair.
it hit you?
It went everywhere, okay?
She like threw it. Did she throw it at her mom who was getting married in her
She threw it
dress?
everywhere, and she had like a butcher knife. Like, it was scary. I thought she was gonna murder someone. I was like, I gotta get out of here for my own safety.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Went to the bathroom to clean up, and she was in there. And there was a woman holding her there by her waist, so she couldn't move, and she was kicking them in the gut.
Oh my gosh,
And
this girl's
was a grown
insane.
woman. She was like probably 30. Like, it was wild.
And you still wanted to shoot weddings after this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I realized she was a crazy person.
Yeah.
But it was insane.
That is
I will
a
say
wild
alcohol,
story.
Less so bridezillas, but more like alcohol and guests. Sometimes
Yeah,
you see
like
some
bringing family
crazy
together.
things, but
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that's like I feel like more
Damn.
like a one out of like 1,000 or 1,000,000 story.
Yeah.
I was expecting like the bridezilla cried and like her makeup was everywhere or something.
Oh, no.
No, I was not expecting
No,
butcher
yeah, I wasn't
knife and
expecting
cake
that.
throwing.
It was nuts.
That's insane.
I'm not exaggerating. Yeah.
Is there a most memorable wedding that you've shot?
Most memorable wedding. They all are memorable. I won't forget any wedding I've ever shot, but I photographed. Let's see, why was it memorable? I need like more specific.
Like, was it like an insane venue or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like a $500,000 wedding or like
Oh, yeah.
something that's just like blew your mind? You were there and you're like,
You were
I
like,
can't believe I'm
wow.
here like witnessing this insane wedding.
Yeah, I had one at the Bel Air Hotel last year. That was
Ooh.
so
Wow.
beautiful. Just the reception site alone, they transformed. There's flowers everywhere that I could see. It was so picturesque. I actually had 2 additional shooters to myself, so I'm so glad I did because we covered like every single detail. But I did not know what I was walking into. Sometimes you don't realize what you're walking into, and it blows you away. Yeah, so that was a spectacular wedding.
I bet. Should we
Yeah.
segment into this?
Yes, I'm
It'll be
excited for
fun.
this one. Okay, so I think we should just go back and forth with it.
Yeah, we're
and make
gonna
it,
do
fun.
a this or that segment.
Okay.
So you have to pick one of the options.
Yes, so this is a new segment that we're doing, and it's gonna be quick.
Okay, quick.
Okay,
All right,
let's do it. All right, this or that, Sony or Canon,
Canon.
85 or 24-70.
85.
day or night,
Day.
Outdoor versus indoor.
Outdoor.
wide or prime,
Prime.
Portrait or full body.
Portrait.
Lightroom or Photoshop,
Lightroom.
Makeup artist or wardrobe stylist.
Makeup artist.
Instagram or TikTok.
Instagram.
Woo,
Ooh.
girl, you did that
That
quick.
was good.
Okay.
Good ones because
We
it's
like
you
it.
do have a strong opinion about it.
Yeah.
I wish stylist was more of a priority, but I feel like,
Makeup.
Makeup.
yeah, it makes a big difference with somebody's confidence too. I just love having a makeup artist there.
Actually, I have a question. Do you do like a lot of skin retouching for your wedding photos? Like
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
No, I always say like the best light and lenses you will look flawless. I always put in my contract if you want retouching on top of the editing. So I always clarify editing is like exposure, color correction, cropping, straightening, like the image is ready to go. It looks perfect. But if you want retouching, it's separate, and nobody really reaches out for that. That would be like for skin.
Yeah.
If anything, it's like a mom that's like, can you just fix my neck a little bit? I'm like, of course, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you, girl.
I think with good light, sometimes I'll do a slight smooth of like close-ups of hands, you know, or like little things, but I like to be pretty true to life and not like lie in the pictures, you know, but they still look amazing. I only send flattering photos.
That's good.
You guys should hire Betsy.
Yeah, you
It's
should.
gonna make you look amazing.
I actually have a question that I think a lot of people would probably be curious about, because you mentioned you put in your contract like it's an add-on for touching
Yeah.
up. How did you like I guess maybe walk us through your process on how you created your contract as a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
Like if you feel comfortable diving
Oh,
into
of
like your,
course.
not like maybe what you specifically charge, or like what you would suggest people to charge, and kind of an idea
For weddings.
for weddings.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, for contracts, I use Dubsado, and it's a great service that they have like contract templates. You can customize it. You can create forms. I still need to go deeper with it, but that's where I do all my contracts.
Dubsado?
Dubsado. I
never
highly
heard of
recommend
I was gonna
it.
say I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
That's where you
That's
can keep
good.
all your contracts. You can have questionnaires.
Oh.
Like you can go you can schedule through there. There's unlimited
Good to know.
capabilities,
Yeah.
but I
We'll link
definitely
it.
use it for
Yes.
contracts. Yeah. But as for what to charge, you know, it honestly varies so much. It's crazy. And I learned that from being a bride. Okay. The prices range. So I would say first start with like, what is your time worth? Like it takes a lot of time to edit the images. So I don't outsource that. I edit all of my images myself. So, you know, it varies. And also in the last few years, prices have gone up. They really
Yeah.
have. Because I got engaged in 2020. And even when I was reaching out then, they've changed significantly. So I don't know. I don't want to say like specific numbers, but
Yeah.
I will say I got quotes for 25,000 back, and I was like,
Wow.
That is insane.
it's
25,000.
crazy. And it just shows it's like, what are people willing to pay? What do they value you? And I just always try to be fair with my time, and like also paying a second shooter. Where's
Yeah.
the location? What I do now is I create like a custom proposal for every wedding, because I used to, you know, have this beautiful PDF that I would send out with all my different collections, and then people just look at it and then maybe they don't respond. You know, they're just comparing it with other ones they get.
Yeah.
But I like to really talk to them on the phone, see what the day is like. Sometimes you are showing up and it's something crazy. Sometimes it's much smaller event than you realize too. So just really getting all the information up front and then kind of customizing it around that. But I do think it's helpful to have a minimum rate and then kind of go from there. So you know, like, this is my minimum rate for my time. My second shooter for 8 hours is a standard day. And then kind of like adding from there. If they want the day before, if there's travel.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps.
No, that does. Do you add in like in your contract, some of your services, do you like add in like engagement package? Like,
Yeah.
I think there's like some wedding contracts where you can like print out photos and put them in a photo book or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are kind of the different services that you offer?
No, totally. I think that's a way a lot of photographers make money, is all these add-ons, and that's
Yeah.
just not what interests me. My joy is capturing the day.
Oh,
So
good.
I
See, that's a
don't
good
do-
perspective.
Yeah, I don't do prints. I know it would make me unhappy. Like, I love capturing the photos and delivering them. Like, my goal is to get you your wedding photos and give them to you high res so you own them. You can do whatever you want with them. You can put them on a billboard if you want. I mean, with the resolution. So I just know that albums from photographers I've talked to, it can take years. Like, people will come back to you 10 years later and they're like, I'm ready to do my wedding album. So
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know where those pictures
I
are.
don't do albums. And I tell people up front, I'm like, if that's something you really want, then I'm probably not the right person for you. Or we could find somebody to do it for you, or I can recommend a service. But
Yeah.
And then for engagement shoots, similar. I used to include them, but I found that a lot of couples that hire me are really busy leading up to the wedding, and they don't get around to their engagement session. And then it's like in the contract that we already had it. So I would find people just wouldn't do them, and I would feel bad. So I'd add an extra hour of coverage, or we'd figure it out. Like, I would never just charge them for it, but I like to treat it separately. I'm like, let's book the wedding, let's get that in a contract, and then we'll treat your engagement session as a portrait session, and we can like start another thread about it.
Well, and I feel like some people might not even use the same photographer for engagement and wedding. Like I've shot a lot of engagement sessions.
That was actually going to be my next question.
But not their weddings, so
I know,
that
it's true. And it's like for different reasons. I mean, I did that. Like my friend took my engagement photos, and then somebody else shot the wedding, and I think it depends. You have to know yourself, right? So if you're a couple that's like really nervous in front of the camera, you should have the same photographer because you want to like get comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? But if I'm not like that because like, we get it. So I was like, the more the merrier, whoever wants to do these. You know? So
definitely. So I'm curious, I think as an artist, we have all dealt with imposter syndrome at some point.
Yes.
And I would love to know like whether you've suffered from that and how you've overcome it and like what triggered it and like your experience with imposter syndrome. I think a lot of people relate, especially people who are starting and who think they need to prove themselves constantly. And it's definitely not the case, but I'm sure, especially with working with celebrities and stuff, that you've experienced that.
No, like the biggest hurdle I felt when I started was proving myself because I was like, how did I end up here? I'm like on a bus photographing this huge band. I've never done this in my life. And I had this huge complex that no one would have known, but I was like, I have to prove myself. So like, even if like a band member said hi to me, I would be like, hi, and walk the opposite direction. I was so shy. And it's funny because I'm very extroverted. I love people. I treat everyone the same. Doesn't matter who you are. But in that first job, I was so afraid that I could come off as a fan. I think they freaked me out that they did not want that. So I was like the opposite and just like was so professional, and it didn't need to be that way. Like, so I would say that came from myself. Being a female on a male-dominated experience, I really wanted to come off serious. And I realized in a few weeks that was in my own head. Nobody was treating me any differently. So I'm really grateful for that. I have to say, like, I've never felt different being a girl. It's just, like, in my own head, because you're like, I'm the only one around.
Yeah.
You know? But, I think also imposter syndrome, it's something I've dealt with probably less because when I was starting, I was also pursuing something else. So I did it for fun. Like I was like, my goal is to make couples happy. Like it's not to be the best in the world. I'm not trying to like be better than anyone else, or it wasn't like to prove. It was just to make people happy. And then once I saw that coming through and everyone was consistently happy, I was like, that was enough validation for me. And that's what keeps me going. So just happy people. Couples. Yeah. That's why I do this. I always joke that like as soon as someone's unhappy, I'm gonna quit. Like this is literally, I do this for the people. I want people to feel beautiful. That's like my goal. Like I want everyone to walk away being like, oh my gosh, like I feel seen, like I feel special. Like it's like a love language, giving people photos of themselves. So
I love this. You're like radiating so much positivity and love for what you do. It's beautiful to see.
It is. It really is.
I think one of our last questions is going to be, how have you been able to find your clients? And if you were talking to someone who's getting into the wedding industry or concert festival industry right now, what would you tell them is the best way to find a client, to connect, to network? Like how can people start really making money off of their craft?
I would say start with your community. I went to college here, which is really lucky that I'm living and working in the same city that I went to school in. So I know a lot of people don't have that privilege. So that's helped me a lot. But I feel like letting your community know what you do. And that's truly how it happened for me. Like I would just put pictures out there. It was before social media, or before Instagram. It was just Facebook, but I would just put them out there. People knew I was doing it. And I was lucky. It was a time when not a lot of people had nice cameras. So whenever anyone needed a photographer, they're like, oh, Betsy can do it, So that's kind of how I started. But use your community. Like if you, like I have a friend who actually is really trying to get into wedding photography. Same thing. She's never second shot. She was nannying for a long time. She's trying to figure out her next step. And I was like, well, she loves kids. I was like, start with the families that you nanny for. Like shoot family photos for them. Like use what's around you and like what you're passionate about. So like at that time I was obsessed with music. I was always going to concerts. So that made sense for me to shoot that. But it's like, use what you're drawn to and your community and offer it to them first just as something you want to do and then build your portfolio from there.
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes it just takes doing a little bit of free work for the portfolio, for the experience, and
just reaching out and asking for, almost like asking for help, but like they're helping you, but you're helping them too.
Yeah, and people want photos of themselves. I'm in photographer groups where people just say, does anyone want to capture me and my fiance? And like, you should see how many photographers.
Yeah.
And it's mutual. Like, people want
Totally
cool couples that they can capture. I didn't really go that route, but I do feel like that's a good way to get into it.
Well, you shot your friends in school, right?
Yeah, I shot my friends, for fun, like in college,
Totally.
exactly, like actors and plays. I would take my camera to all the plays and I would just like shoot them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's even like a fun way of getting new clients you wouldn't expect. There's been a few times where I just take my camera with me and I take random candids and then I'll just be like, oh, we got a cool photo of you. And then next thing you know, they're like, oh, I have a brand. Like, this is so sick. I would love to hire you.
Definitely. That's been my whole philosophy, is like saying yes. You never know what leads to the next thing. Like, I do grad photos for the school I went to, USC, and a lot of my brides are from those grad photos. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
So not being like above anything, just do it all and be passionate about it.
I love that. Okay, so I think let's end this to go. Let me re-say that again. Sorry, because that noise distracted me.
I know.
I know, and I didn't know if it was going to. Okay, let's talk about camera settings. So you capture artists, touring, events, and then you also capture weddings. What would you say are the best camera settings for maybe somebody who's listening to this? Maybe they have a camera and they have no idea how to use it.
Yeah.
And they want to go to a concert tonight. Like, what camera settings should they use? Or they want to go shoot, I don't know, maybe their sister's getting married next week and they want to just go bring their camera and practice. What like camera settings should they use?
So
just camera settings for like your music stuff versus wedding stuff, basically.
Okay, so for a wedding, I usually start at a shallow aperture. I love a prime lens. If I was just starting photography and I had nothing, which is actually what I did, I just had a 50. That was all I had.
Same.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, that's still one of the best lenses. You can do anything with it. But starting with like 2 to 2.5 is my favorite. It's sharp, it's shallow, it gives you that depth, that bokeh. It's beautiful. I love it. So I would suggest starting with your aperture and then honestly just reading your light meter. That's as easy as it is with manual. It feels so daunting with manual. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this when you're just starting? But just watch that meter inside your camera, and that's how you adjust your shutter. Just keeping it in the middle or a little bit above so it's a little exposed. So just controlling your aperture and then reading your meter for shutter, and then for ISO, just understanding what that does. So like keeping it low earlier in the day, raising it as it gets darker. But it's much simpler than I think people realize, I think. I mean, once you get the hang of it. But I am constantly changing my settings. Like, I don't keep them the same. And especially for a concert, it's changing constantly. So for a concert, I actually am usually on zoom lenses, not prime lenses. So like the 24 to 70 2.8 or the 70 to 200 2.8. And I keep those are the only two mostly that I'll use. And
do you have flash as well?
Not for a concert, you're not allowed to, but for a wedding I do. And I do feel really comfortable with flash. A lot of times you don't when you're starting because you don't like flash and all this stuff, but now it's very trendy. People love it, right? So I have the Pro Photo Flash and I love it. It's the recycling time is so fast. There is no recycling time.
That's nice.
It's just this beautiful light. I seriously can't recommend it more. And you just turn it up or down according to how much light you want. So it's really straightforward.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, I love my flash. It looks really good, but the recycling time is too much.
Yes, I seriously think the Pro Photo is worth it. Yeah, and then I always like read the room. Like, is this a couple that maybe, do they want that Hollywood look? Do they want like direct flash? Or do they want, maybe I'll bounce it off the ceiling if there's white walls and it's more ambient kind of, like I almost want it to look like natural light.
I like that.
So I change it. And usually with my second, we discuss, we're like, are we bouncing it? Are we pointing it at them? We always kind of collaborate. Yeah, so it's consistent.
That's
Love
good.
it. Yeah, that's super helpful.
Thank you for that. I was going to say, I think that might be really helpful for anyone listening who just has no idea what they're doing but wants to do it.
Yeah, aperture is the best place to start. Even if you start on aperture priority too, if that's like an option on your camera. And just having that as low as it can go on that lens and then going from there. So
sweet.
Love that. Okay, cool. So then I think let's...
So last segment is, what is the best advice you've ever received?
My best advice is, honestly, I don't think anyone ever told me this, but my philosophy is saying yes. Just say yes. I think so often we like put ourselves in a box and we're like, well, I only shoot this, or this is not the career. Even for me, I was like trying to pursue a different career. But I said yes to something in a totally different path. And so I think just being open-minded can really lead to some magical opportunities that you didn't even know were possible. So I know it sounds silly, but like really not putting yourself in a box and just seeing what one yes can lead to.
Yeah, I don't think that's silly because I
that's
think
not
a
silly
lot
at
of the
all.
times, even if we're just tired or feeling lazy or we are lacking confidence, we just tell ourselves like, oh, this isn't the right opportunity.
Well,
like the
even
next
going on
one,
this
the next
podcast is
one.
a perfect example. Like I got your text, I was driving, you were like, can you be on this podcast? And if, you know, maybe some person would be uncomfortable with that and they'd be like, no, like I don't really have anything to share. I don't. Just say yes. Like you just never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
And it could-
Especially here in LA too. Like
Yeah.
you never know.
I have so many stories like this. Like it's all
Totally.
starts with just being open and being comfortable with being uncomfortable because it's never going to be comfortable.
That part.
That is my like life philosophy, like going outside of your comfort zone and like forcing yourself to be
Yes.
like very uncomfortable.
And eventually you get comfortable with new situations.
Exactly.
I'm almost more comfortable in new situations than old ones, you know?
Same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's
I love
be
that.
scary.
Amazing. Well, that was so good.
I know
Thank
you are. I
so
love your
much.
energy.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
plug your socials really quick so anybody listening can follow you.
Okay, that's so nice. So it's Betsy Newman. Just BETSNEWMAN, and it's because Betsy was taken.
Oh,
People are always like, "Oh, you go by Bets." They call me Bets. I'm like, "No, not necessarily."
I like that though, Bets.
You can call me Bets if you want.
Perfect. We'll link it also in all of the places.
Yes, thank you so much.
You guys are amazing.
Aw,
You're
thank
amazing.
Thank
Aw.
you. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to another episode of Shoot Your Shot.
Yes.
You can find us on all streaming platforms. We're on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram at Shoot Your Shot Podcast. Oh,
Oh, let me redo it. Hang on.
it's really time to go, guys.
my gosh.
Shoot Your Shot Podcast _ and thank you so much. Bye.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.